What are the British values that are being eroded?
Well, we would treat women equally.
So you've got the same value that you always had. So your value hasn't been eroded. There are just some people who disagree with you.
All right. So in this call, a man armed with powerful feelings about eroded British values dials into James's show. And what usually happens when people like this call into James's show is they walk away. They leave the call with their tail between their legs. And this is no different. If you want to see more videos like this, show your support by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a video. Now let's watch this together and then I'll give you my thoughts at the end.
Anyway, the British values that are being eroded, let's go through them one by one.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think for me the biggest thing is I think we have imported a lot of people that don't have the same values when it comes to the treatment of women.
Yeah, but we're talking about what the values are. What are the British values that are being eroded?
Well, we would treat women equally.
So you've got the same value that you always had. So your value hasn't been eroded. There are just some people who disagree with you.
I think we import cultures that treat women badly.
Well,
we're now the acid-throwing capital of the world. Acid crime is, through the roof.
Okay.
How did Britain become the acid-chucking capital of the world?
Well, I don't know that that's true.
Well, we certainly are in
But it
Europe.
doesn't involve an erosion of British values, because you and I still believe what we believed before the people you're talking about
It's an erosion of women's faces, usually.
Okay, well, you don't exactly sound sympathetic when you start
I am sympathetic.
talking
I think
like
it's terrible. I think it's terrible.
So what is the British value that you feel is being eroded? Because any value is going to have people that don't hold it. The idea that my life or your life is being diminished or eroded, how does that work? Why are you less committed now to women's rights than you were when immigration was lower?
My commitment to
so nothing's been eroded then?
Not no, because I'm not an immigrant that holds different views about women.
But there'll be plenty of people who aren't immigrants who hold different views about women. I think one of the Reform MPs was jailed for beating one up, wasn't he?
Yeah, just like there are.
So is that an erosion of British values?
Yes, I think it is.
But you support that party?
Example of a more domestic.
But I think Reform is the only party that has an MP who's been jailed for beating up a woman, and the British value you've gone for is respect for women, and yet you're here to tell me that you support the only party that has an MP who's been incarcerated for beating up a woman. How did that happen?
What do you mean, how did it happen?
Well, how did you end up on the radio trumpeting support for a party that has an MP who's been incarcerated for beating up a woman and claiming that they represent your desire to see more respect for women? How did that happen?
If you remember what I said I was torn between Badenoch and Farage. Yes. I'm on the fence between them. So I'm not exactly...
Now you've remembered that one of Farage's colleagues was banged up for beating up a woman, and you care so much of women's rights, then the choice is easy, isn't it? It's Badenoch all day long.
Well, there's lots of bad individual apples within all the parties.
I can't think of anybody in the Labour Party that's been jailed for beating up a woman, or the Conservative Party, or the Liberal Democrats. But let's talk about maternity pay then. How does Badenoch's attitude to maternity pay play into your passionate desire to see more respect for women?
Shall I tell you what I like about Kemi?
Yeah, go on then.
I'll tell you what I like, because you can keep hitting her with the maternity thing, and I think that was a slip-up, and I don't think she'd ever enact a policy like that.
Wasn't a slip-up, mate. She doesn't do slip-ups. She said so.
Well, yeah, I think that's rubbish. But
hang on, you're supposed to be bigging her up.
Well, I'll tell you why I like her. I think she's a rare specimen in politics because she's an engineer in her background. She's from an immigrant background where she's come here and done a lot as an individual in sort of getting on her own 2 feet.
I think she was born here.
And... yes, but her family came over with relatively little,
right?
And she's built up from that. And she's an engineer, which is rare in politics. She's a problem solver.
I think the biographical details are actually a bit wrong there. I think she came here when she was born here, and then she came on her own when she was 16. I don't know that her family have ever settled here.
I'm not sure on a family detail, but I know that she's.
But that was That was what you just said as the reason why you like her so much, and it's not true.
Well, I like the fact that she's a problem solver because...
What problems has she solved?
Well, I'm speaking fundamentally in terms of her inclinations.
So am I. What problems has she solved fundamentally?
Well, she's not been put in power to do it. I mean, she was in the trades. I think she did a lot of trades work that was quite good.
For example?
I think she's... all of the trade deals that she's put forward.
She hasn't put any trade deals forward at all.
She worked in the Department of Trade, and she was involved in a lot of the negotiations.
I worked in River Island, mate, but I'm not a fashion designer. Tell me a trade deal that she put together, an actual trade deal.
She was involved in the CPTPP, whatever it is.
The what?
I went forward. CPTPP, whatever it's called.
CPTPP? What?
Yeah, there's too many P's in that one, isn't there?
Right. Well, I don't know, mate. You're the one using it as an example of what a clever politician she is. So trade deals that she negotiated or signed.
There's lots and lots
Liz
of
Truss
trade
took the credit for that. Liz Truss took the credit for that one.
There was lots that she was involved in.
Go on. Well, then it'll be really easy to give me an example then, Dan.
Well, just because I personally don't have the memory to name every specific
but you
instance.
personally just said live on the radio that was proof of what a good egg she is, and so you must have proof of your proof, as it were.
Well, I told you that I think that she's a problem solver.
And I said, what problems has she solved?
Well,
and you said...
I'm contrasting that more, James, from a kind of... Most politicians, they studied politics, they studied law, they're lawyers, they're philosophers. They don't do anything that involves actual hands-on problem-solving.
Which is why it's going to be so easy for you to give me an example of the hands-on problem-solving that she's done.
Well, she worked in IT originally, didn't she? So she's been like an IT engineer.
You're the expert. She worked at The Spectator for a while, and you've got a problem with journalists.
Well, I'm not saying I have a problem with journalists. I just think that politicians need.
So let's not get distracted. Let's go back to the problems that she solved and the trade deals that she signed.
Well, if you're interested in the discussion of where I think she'll take politics.
No, I'm interested in your reasons for admiring her, which are her problem-solving abilities and the trade deals that she signed. So I'm going to have to ask for some examples.
I can't. If I'm honest with you, I can't list every trade negotiation.
No, I don't need all of them. I just need one. I
think she was involved in the CPTPP.
You can't even say it. You can hardly cite that as an example of her negotiating acumen, and that was long before she got into the Department of Trade.
Has she not been involved in some of the India-UK FTA?
We haven't got one. We haven't got a trade deal.
No, but there's been lots of waves of negotiations.
No, but you were telling me about the ones that she had actually concluded and negotiated. But
she's not in that position right now.
But when she was.
Wait, but she was involved in those negotiations, and the Labour government has continued on with that negotiation.
You can't tell me that she achieved something and then tell me that she didn't. But let's look at the problems that she solved. Let's do the problems that she solved.
I also like the fact, James, that she's going back to the fundamentals. She's going back to the emotional bedrock of conservatism,
yes.
the instinct to protect what people have. She's going back to those fundamentals, and it's an emotional thing. It's about identity. It's about culture.
What have you lost then? What has happened to your identity recently that needs protecting by Kemi Badenoch?
I think. Well, we've had record immigration. We've got 1% of an increase in immigration. It's highest than it's been post-war, isn't it?
It's about to come down by about half.
And look at the riots.
This isn't your right. Well, the riots were undertaken by. We could probably speculate upon the political affiliations of the kind of people that were rioting because they share your views on immigration. But the idea of your identity that needs protecting by Kemi Badenoch, what have you lost?
Well, like I said, we've become the acid throwing.
I know you don't like foreigners, but what have you lost? Your identity?
It's not foreigners.
No,
I think
if you want to put the finger let's not get distracted. I mean, the question is your identity. What have you lost?
My personal identity is separate from the country's identity. I'm talking about the country's identity and the country's values.
No, talking about an emotional sense of... No, it's not. Of course it's not. It's an emotional sense of identity that you're describing to me. And I want to know what it is that I'm not feeling. I need protecting from.
The collective consciousness of the country.
Are you?
I'm not talking
about
individuals.
That's very bold, isn't it? How can you talk about the collective consciousness of the country?
What else are British values if they're not a collective consciousness?
I didn't use the phrase. You used the phrase. You can't tell me what a British value is.
Yes, but I talk about British values.
Well, name one. Name a British value.
You talk about my
personal Tell me a British value. Tell me a British value.
Free speech.
There we go. That's safe.
I don't think it particularly is. Look,
what aren't you allowed to say? What aren't you allowed to say now?
You can't say the wrong thing on social media without being locked up after a riot.
Okay, who's been locked up for?
And be let out of prison early.
Dan, no one has been locked up for saying the wrong thing on social media. The people who've been locked up for their behaviour on social media are the people who were inciting violence or encouraging people to set fire to hotels.
There are some people that merely said racist things.
That's not true.
They didn't incite
Okay,
violence.
you know what I'm going to do now?
There was also somebody...
No, don't change this up. You know what I'm going to do now?
Listen.
No, I am listening. That's the problem. I don't think you're used to it. Give me the example of the person who was jailed for saying something racist.
I can't remember the guy's name off the
But
top of my head.
every single thing you've offered up to me as proof of the point that you think that you're making, I just do this really simple, polite little thing, Dan, and I say, oh, would you mind providing me with the example or with the evidence? And what do you do?
Well, I should have written them all down and put them on a list in front of me.
No, you should know them.
Every name and detail.
No. It's not every name and detail, Dan. It's one example. It's one example of a trade deal that Kemi Badenoch concluded. It's one example of a problem that Kemi Badenoch has solved. It's one example of somebody... She didn't do it. It's one example of somebody being sent to jail for saying something racist on social media. So I've got to go to the break now. But before I do that... When you came on and said that you were the kind of candidate for Idiot's Corner, did you realise it was because you were someone who holds really strong opinions without having any evidence to back them up?
I can back them up when I've got the time to put it together. I don't have time on a line.
But just to be clear, you rang me, right? We didn't phone you up and sort of ambush you.
Wow. So what we just witnessed was a masterclass in dismantling an argument built on nothing but sand. The caller started with a huge claim that British values are being eroded by immigrants who don't respect women. And when O'Brien pointed out that he supports Reform UK, the only party with an MP jailed for domestic violence, then you knew the direction the call was going to go. And then the caller pivoted to his admiration for Badenoch, calling her a problem solver who gets trade deals done. And then James simply asked him, name me one. Just one simple problem she solved, one trade deal she signed. And of course, there was no answer because we all know it's nonsensical. And this isn't really just about this one caller. This is a perfect snapshot of a political movement that runs on emotion and not evidence. Every single claim about women's rights, about Kemi Badenoch's record, about people being jailed for saying the wrong thing on social media, it all crumbles under the slightest pressure of a simple request for evidence. And James's final summary was brutal because it was nothing but the caller's own failed arguments listed back to him. So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons for more, and also don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching.